gotta teach Phil a new tune.
That could be costly to us.
Okay, we don't want to teach Phil a
shouldn't.
new tune.
I think what Phil plays right now is perfect.
Me too.
Not bad.
Yeah.
Not bad. It's catchy, right?
Yeah,
yes,
You know, right
indeed.
at the
Yes.
you're head on with the EV intro, and then it just kind of calms down right when
Yes.
the piano starts to play.
Yes. Yes.
There was a reason for that, Phil, and you know that was the reason. That
Yes.
somehow you're still the special guest every week, so you get special billing every week.
Yes.
I'm good with it. I'm good with it.
So what are we talking about today? We're talking. Oh, that's right. We're talking about the article Justin wrote that we didn't get to last week.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's the
Yes.
the best-selling non-Teslas. The top 10.
There is such a thing.
Well, yeah. If you take Tesla out of it, there are
Yeah.
other vehicles that are sold.
Okay, I wasn't aware.
There are? I didn't
There are.
know about that.
They make up almost 45% of the market.
Wow. Okay.
But of course, the Model Y is still one of the best-selling vehicles on the planet of any kind, ICE or otherwise.
Is
But
a Tesla?
yeah, the Tesla
Yeah.
Model Y.
Okay.
And I got to say to Igor real quick, it went as you expected, Igor. Exactly the way you advised it went. So it was good.
Glad to hear that.
And then Michael here, yeah, so do I. I love my Model 3 rear-wheel drive as well.
Have I driven in one of those?
I don't think so.
Okay.
My Model 3 is not what that Y we rented was. It's not as bumpy in the front seat. I don't know. I get complaints about people who sit in the back seat that it is actually suspension back there is very different than the front. Front's very comfortable, and the back is apparently bumpy.
And this is what the Model 3 we're talking about?
Yeah, Model 3, my Model 3. Everyone who's been on any long trip in the back has said it's very rough ride back there. I was like, oh.
I mean, Ray, we know about rough rides in a Tesla, right?
We do indeed. Yes. Yeah.
On the great, well cared for Detroit roads.
And we also know that as big as the Model Y is, it really does not seat 3 adults in the rear seat comfortably.
Wow.
Not particularly.
At least not 3 big guys. And
oh, come on. Zach wasn't a big guy. Zach's pretty small.
Oh, was that? I forgot he was in the back. Was he in the back seat of that?
I'm not sure.
I don't.
Yeah. Yes, he was at one point because I was sitting up front one time.
Yeah,
that's right.
That's right.
I just know when I was in the back seat, it was indeed like, oh, I could use another foot of room here.
Yeah. Yeah.
So maybe don't squeeze a bunch of guys into the back of it.
So just out of curiosity, what are the best-selling non-Tesla EVs out there?
Well, as our title of today's show sort of hints at, this one right here. I bet you can guess the number one selling non-Tesla EV. It's the one they discontinued.
The Bolt.
Yes.
Because for some reason, GM likes to do that.
Yeah.
I don't understand.
But Phil, number 2 surprised me. The Cadillac Lyriq. I don't know how that's the number 2 best-selling non-Tesla EV. That surprised me a lot because it's expensive for what you're getting there.
We saw one, Zach and I. We saw one last weekend in DC when we were hanging around.
Yeah, I've seen. Phil and I have had this discussion. I'm not a big fan of it, and I'm not anti-Cadillac in any way, unless I'm talking to Phil. But,
of course.
But otherwise. I'm not actually anti-Cadillac, but the Lyriq just doesn't do it for me at all. I thought they could have done much better with it. The Chevy Bolt, I was really surprised when my buddy was looking at EVs and stuff. We drove the EUV.
Uh-huh.
It was really nice. I was like, oh, I actually like this. I thought they were going to be more like the Volt than and it was actually a really nice car. He ended up getting the number 3 on the list, of course, the Ioniq 5. Which, for me, as a Tesla owner, I say this all the time, Kia and Hyundai make the best actual competition to Tesla, I think. For price point and what you're getting, the comforts of them, performance, charging, all that, I think Hyundai Kia make the best Tesla alternatives out there. And if not for the EA charging systems, I would consider I was looking at the EV9, which is a very, very nice SUV. But I wouldn't buy it having to rely on the EA network. Then we have the ID4, which isn't a big surprise. I don't know about you guys, but I'm starting to see ID4s around me constantly. I'm pretty much if I leave the house for more than 20 minutes, I can't not see an ID4.
Wow. I saw a lot of them on the parking lot of the VW dealer, but I can honestly tell you I've never seen one on the road.
I mean, this happens all the time with me, right, Ray? I always see it before everybody else because we're kind of at ground zero for EVs here.
Yeah.
We sell more EVs in Sacramento than they do in the Bay or in LA.
Really?
By percentage. So we really are like ground zero for EVs. I tend to see them here first. I personally see Rivian all the time. People in my neighborhood, there's 4 Lucids in my neighborhood.
Really?
Which that kind of surprised me because I'm not in a very rich neighborhood. I mean, I'm not super poor area either, but like I was kind of surprised to see the Lucids, but there's 4 Lucids around me. So that kind of surprised me. What I have never seen is the next best-selling vehicle is the F-150 Lightning, which I've never seen one in the wild.
I have. There's a
Phil, you're on mute.
Go ahead, Phil.
I just wanted to say, you see them around here, of course, because it's Ford. But yeah,
I've seen one here at the shore where I live, but it's not somebody that lives here full time. So I only see it in the summer when they come down to their house in the summer. And I've seen they had a Lightning, they had a Hummer for a while. They've always got to show off. They had a Corvette. Always has to show off his expensive toys. So.
How is he showing them off? Is he just driving them?
He just leaves them in the driveway for everybody to see them. Okay.
Yeah, we're getting a lot of comments and a lot of comments about the Lightning being seen in those areas. And I think that sort of shows just what area I'm in. We're not in a huge truck country area. If you go up to the hills, you will see it, but when you go up to the hills, they don't do a lot of EVs up there. If they were going to see them, Granite Bay was where I would expect to see them. That's just right at the base of the foothills. And Granite Bay, just to put it in perspective for you guys, is where Kings players live. So not exactly a poor area.
Okay.
Next one on the list. So what surprised me about this list is the Lightning and the Mach-E are, so high up there with that 1, 2, 3, 4. So the 5th and 6th best-selling EVs
but
are the Lightning and Mach-E, and yet the slowest selling are somehow the Mach-E.
Yeah, how do you be on both? Isn't that some type of a conundrum? How can you be the fastest and slowest selling all at the same time?
And I'm not sure that they're the slowest selling. I think they have the most day inventory supply,
Yes.
right, Ray?
Yes.
So I think it's a matter of production. So they're producing more than they're selling. They're still selling a good amount, but they're overproducing.
Yes, the day supply is
yeah.
killing you.
By a lot.
Yes.
And then we get to the EV9, which is really, truly, I've test driven this. Other than my test drive of the Cybertruck a couple weeks ago, the EV9 was one of my favorite EVs that I've test driven in a long time. I really, really liked that vehicle. I think it's still overpriced. Don't get me wrong. It's still a little bit overpriced. I'd probably lease it,
Yes.
and not buy it. But it is a really nice SUV. I really like it. And maybe next year when they finally move over to the North American charging standard, I might consider. Depends what Tesla's rates for those are.
I saw an article,
Mhm.
I think yesterday or today, and I didn't delve deeply into the article, other than the headline was that by 2027, it'll be cheaper to produce EVs than ICE vehicles. And
I saw that article today too, this morning.
yes, and I want to know how that can be.
Yeah, I would love to know that.
Well, it's economy of scale. Don't forget, Tesla is the most profitable per vehicle of any manufacturer on the planet. They manufacture and have more profit in their vehicles than Toyota does. So you just have to scale it up, and everyone else right now is still starting. Now, I think we've talked about this before, Ray. Sometimes is like Ford struggling. Yeah, so did Tesla for like 15 years.
Yeah, no, I get that.
It takes a minute. And then, one of the things they do for that, though, that I know you guys both don't like is, all those lack of buttons is because that helps speed the process and lower the cost of production because you're not punching out holes and creating buttons and all that. And that really helps speed everything along and reduces costs over it. So it's going to be stuff like that that all scales through. I don't know they're all going to go to gigapress because I don't know that you can make enough presses quick enough. Not in 3 years, that's for sure.
Well, I think I speak for Phil when I say this. I like buttons because I'm a tactile kind of guy. I like the feel of the buttons. I don't necessarily like the feel of a computer screen.
I like a good mix of them, Ray. I like a good mix. I like having a screen to be able to present all the information. But I can tell you that I do like to have a volume knob.
Exactly.
I do like to have on my temperature control. I like to have a physical button to be able to increase and decrease the temperature. I keep my stuff on auto all the time, so really everything else is really moot for me. But I like a good mix. I do.
And I think I agree with. I mean, I'm fine with my screen. I don't have a problem with that. But I agree that most people are like you too, and it makes sense. And that is where I keep saying Hyundai, Kia are kind of like the good Tesla alternatives because that's what they do. They still have a few buttons in there. That's not overboard. I've seen some overboard. Toyota, for example, is it looks like Kit from Knight Rider. Everything's a push button everywhere you go. It's just wow.
A good example of something that didn't go right. Do you remember when Cadillac Q first came out? The Cadillac user interface system.
I do not. No.
So it was a screen right at the top, and then right under it had like a panel that was all tactile. So you had to touch it to make things move. So it wasn't anything that you were. No, I'm sorry, it wasn't tactile, but because you couldn't push anything. But it would know when you're touching and then have that input. To have it do something. Well, it was extremely unreliable. And people had the hardest time trying to use a touch interface to maneuver than rather just push a button to have it happen. Look it up one of these days. It was
But in the day of smartphone, that's stupid to me personally. I get it, but I'm just kind of like I do that all the time, and I wonder, Phil, what do you think? Would haptic feedback work for people?
well, that's what this was.
Yeah, it was. So it was.
It
when you
was. I'm
touch the
sorry.
screen,
Yes,
it was haptic
I should have.
feedback?
I should have elaborated a little bit more. Yes, it was a tactile, not tactile, but it did have like a vibrating. Like
Yeah.
it would pulse back when
Because I
you.
wonder,
when it
I
touched.
have wondered about that a few times, haptic feedback. Because I mean,
People
look,
hated it.
I
It
love
was-
my screen, but there are times where I'm driving where I'm like, I shouldn't have to do this while I'm driving. That is, the radio particular, because that's the one thing that we tend to change, right?
Yes.
Mhm.
And yes, it is that I have my Apple Music is part of my car and part of my screen. And my Apple Podcast is part of my car, part of my screen. But if I want to transition between those, I do have to take my eyes off the road more than I'm comfortable with. And maybe I should be putting it into autopilot so I can do that for a second. I don't know, but I'm not going to do that because I'm not a self-driving car guy yet.
You know
But
what?
that's one of that and my automatic windshield wipers, which are probably the worst since the 1980s on a Tesla, are my two big complaints. Is that yes, to change my radio stations from different apps takes too much time and effort while I'm driving. And then
I
half the time,
100,000% agree with you.
half the time my
can't-
Apple signs out and I have to do it. And I'm like, well, I can't scan it and authorize it while I'm driving. Like,
Yeah.
that's insane.
Yep. Agreed.
Well, I don't have to worry about any of that. I don't.
No.
I did just between the three of us. I did hit 7,300 miles on my car yesterday.
Woo!
Wow.
Yeah, yeah, buddy.
That's a lot.
Whew, is it ever? I mean, and I have 14 months left on my 36-month lease. So that gives you some idea as to how much I've driven. And my son, as we all know, put 3,500 miles of that 7,300 miles on the car. So
Yeah. Ray, my wife's car, her Mini, just hit 6,000 miles, and she got hers right around the same time I think you did, because
Really?
yours and her car are the same. You guys have the same exact car.
yeah, wow.
Because now we have to go for service with it. We have one service dealer for Mini
Okay.
in our area, and it's about 45 minutes away, and it sucks.
Yeah.
And I was, the car's a BMW.
Yes.
But yet, no BMW dealership will touch it for service work.
Well, just
I'm
because,
like,
well, they won't, and here's the reason why. You have the free maintenance,
yeah, I
and
know.
and
Yep.
they can't. BMW dealership can't do the work and then warranty that work and get paid. So it has
Right.
to be the mini dealer.
Right.
So
Right.
if your wife should bring her car in once a year for
Yes.
her
That's
free
yep.
annual low mileage oil change, which is what
Yes.
I do.
Yes.
I'll go back to the dealership in May when around my 2-year anniversary for my second
Yep.
free annual low mileage oil change. And then the next time I'll be there after that is when I drop the damn thing off. And at that point, I really, everybody's heard me joke about, well, a Vespa will be next, but I really believe that I'll just Uber and Lyft wherever I want to go. Instead of spending $600 a month to have a car between insurance and gas and payment, I don't think I could spend $600 a month utilizing Uber and Lyft.
Right. Makes sense.
Yeah, unfortunately.
Yeah.
So John has a question for me here.
Okay.
Would I give up my iPhone for an Elon phone No, I'm not that guy. I'm not
Good.
like, just because Tesla made it. No, I wouldn't. It depends what they're do with the phone. I'm a guy that likes results and products. I don't go after things because of the name. I have an iPhone because I prefer that over everything else, even though I think it's the most boring freaking phone on the planet. I do. I truly, Phil, we've had this discussion. Don't give me that look.
I know.
I
I know.
think ever since
will-
Tim Cook took over, it's become the
Understood.
most boring company ever.
I have heard some good things about iOS 18 coming out. That it's going to be much more customizable, and it's about time to get a different feel, right? Because the feel of the phone is the operating system.
Yeah.
Because
No, I
that's
agree
what
with
you're interacting with, right?
that. I'm trying to see what I
Um,
have right now because I have betas. I'm on the developer beta, but
For 18?
my last, I don't think so because
Yeah, I don't think it's
mine
out
is the same. No, I'm a 17.4.
yet. All right.
But yeah,
Well, let me know when you get on 18 and tell me.
I sure would like that. I know Apple is finally working with AI after spending $1 billion on a car that they were never going to
are
build.
no longer going to have.
They were never going to have that. That was just not ever going to happen. But I sure would like to see Siri become not the absolute worst AI assistant there is out there. Because Siri sucks.
Yeah.
Speaking of, I do use the talk feature, but not for the radio. I use it for all my navigation and stuff on my car because I also would not want to start typing stuff in to the screen while I'm driving on where I want to go. So I use talk feature there a lot, and it works great. I will say I like Tesla Maps more than Apple Maps.
Can you use the talk feature to change radio stations and stuff?
I would be curious to see that one. I will try it out. I just have never actually tried. I'm not a voice guy, generally speaking.
But I love your voice.
I hate my voice. But yeah, Apple could buy Rivian. I think Rivian's going to end up just fine on their own. I know it looks like they're having some issues, but if you saw the release yesterday of the 2 and on the R2 and R3, I think Rivian's going to be just fine. I see a crap ton of those over here too.
Yeah. I think they rank in the top 20% of like folks that would consider buying it again. Like it's up there. People like them.
People do, and yet back to our list real fast. They're not on here.
I didn't say they were the most popular. I didn't say they were the most popular.
It's a volume issue, right, Phil? Because they're just building out one plant right now, right? And I think that's sort of it. But you're right; their brand loyalty is very high.
Yep.
Almost as high as Tesla. But a lot of EV owners, and I think this speaks more to the early adoption of EVs that we're still kind of in. Is most EV owners would buy EVs again, and they like their vehicles. But when you're only talking 5% of the total market, I think that's probably why those numbers are skewed a little bit.
I would agree.
But going back to our list, we're at BMW i4, which everyone has their preferences. I will say that. I put it more bluntly, it's one of the ugliest cars I've ever seen. And I love the Cybertruck. But the i4, I think, is
if you love the Cybertruck, I don't know how you could say the i4 is ugly.
Oh, it's awful.
Yeah, I can't see that either. The i4 looks a lot better than.
No,
I mean, come on.
No, it does not.
But I will say something about BMW. I used to like BMW. Their design language I liked it. I don't like where they're going today. I don't like, number one, the grill style. I think everyone can say that.
That's the number one thing that I don't like about the i4 is that I think Ray calls them Bugs Bunny teeth. I
Well,
always said they
that's
look
what
like. I think they look like giant nostrils. I'm just like, I don't.
Oh
yeah,
my
I
gosh,
think-
I didn't think about that. Now I'm looking at it, and now I'm not gonna not think about that.
No, that's all I can see. I was just like, oh my god, that is so, and I don't get it. But yeah,
No, I really believe it looks like Bugs Bunny teeth every time I see one. And there was one in the parking lot of the condo yesterday, and it's just like I walk by and it just, where's Elmer Fudd? You know, with a shotgun, because it's sitting right there. You can get him right now. It's just that to me is what's bothersome about it, but it still looks hundreds of times better than that Cybertruck.
You take that grill away, that car still looks good.
Even
It
with the
still looks
grill,
good.
it still looks
Yeah,
better than the Cybertruck.
it does. It does. 100%.
Yeah.
Um,
Sorry, Justice.
it's all right.
Yeah.
I'm used to any time Cybertruck is mentioned.
Beauty
anywhere
is in the
world,
eye of the,
I get a
of the
Slack
beholder, as
message
they always
about
say.
how awful it is, even if I wasn't involved in the conversation. So people will see a Cybertruck rolling down the road. They'll jump onto Slack and they'll go, "Hey, this is the ugliest vehicle ever, Justice." And like, I wasn't even involved in this conversation. Okay. Yeah.
Stainless steel fridge on wheels.
Yeah, well, that's a good one. Yeah.
Yep. Lots of people who have never been inside one have lots of comments. I understand that.
I don't need to get inside one to realize that it's ugly looking from the outside.
Have you seen one in person?
Not yet. You know, I am reminded.
Not
of,
saying that's going to change your mind. I'm not saying that at all.
Maybe
But
it
they
will, I
are
don't
better
know.
looking in person than on photos for sure.
All I can tell you is I'm reminded of the time when I represented Nissan many, 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 many years ago, in the beginning of my career, and Nissan came out with the Stanza wagon or whatever it was, and it was incredibly ugly. I mean, it was horrendous. And I used to tell customers when they were considering it,
Yeah.
you need to stand as close to this vehicle as humanly possible, because the further you get away, the greater the likelihood is you're going to realize just how flippin' ugly it is. And that's how, and now the interior wasn't ugly, but the exterior was.
I was just going to say that.
Yeah, and so the Cybertruck might have a really great interior, but that doesn't change the fact that the exterior is as oft-putting as it is to me. That's all.
Yeah, that's fine. I mean, nobody at Tesla, including Elon Musk himself, didn't think it wasn't going to be polarizing. I always say that. Like, everybody knew that it would be polarizing. Either you're going to really like it,
or you're really going to hate it,
or you're just you're going to hate it. Do you like watching Mad Max movies, or do you hate watching Mad Max movies?
I just think when the premise is to make it like a troll doll. Troll dolls were so ugly that they were cute. Okay, and so the premise of building a vehicle is to make it so ugly that it becomes palatable. Is it's kind of like selling the pet rock. In my mind.
But the rock wasn't it wasn't about beauty. That was just about how stupid consumers are.
Well, and
yeah, I mean that's what that was.
Yeah,
but he made $1 million, over $1 million,
made more than $1 million. Yeah.
But all right, so back to our list here.
Okay,
where the last two are the Nissan Ariya,
which we saw one of those in Washington the other day.
What is decent, but there's nothing really special about it. I don't think.
It was good looking.
But yeah, I mean, it's a decent vehicle. I don't really have any complaints. It's one of the few EVs that I think is just sort of stuck there in the middle. That's like, yeah, that's fine. But and then the Ioniq 6, which I also like a lot.
Yes. Now I do know that Nissan just lowered the pricing on the Arias.
Mm-hmm. I mean, didn't they lower the pricing on all their EVs?
Yeah, well, to try and get so they're on our fastest moving list, and yet Nissan felt compelled to drop the price considerably to get people to buy them. So if our list, and nothing against Justice here, I mean Justin, but if our list is just based on day supply and not actual sales.
No, our list is Justin's article is based on sales.
Okay. Well,
total sold. So the list is that we've gone over is by how many were sold.
Okay. Because
we have a market day supply on there, but this is sorted by sold vehicles.
Because I do know that Nissan dealers, as we know, felt like they were stuck with them. Kind of like Acura dealers felt like they were stuck with the ZDX back in the early 2000s or late 2000s.
These things start at $43,000, but they're offering 0% for up to 72 months on them.
Wow!
But look how much the list changes when you sort it by market day supply.
Yes.
Yeah. Then we're back again at the same thing where the Mach-E is the highest by a lot. Then the Lightning.
Yes.
And then you got the i4. The Ioniq 5 surprises me. But look, I mean, the Chevy Bolt's only at 30, but that's because they discontinued the thing.
Yeah, well, yeah, they're not building them. So
they're not building the best-selling non-Tesla.
Well,
I don't understand.
What are you trying to say? Yeah, I think you're being way too kind because you're just saying. Well, I mean, why don't we just say it? It was one of the biggest mistakes they could make for their EV division.
Yeah.
People proved they would buy it. They wanted it. It was reasonably priced. So we discontinue it.
Yeah. And yet the Nissan is still building the Leaf. Okay.
Yeah.
But
there's
the
one
Bolt needs to be.
Yes. So
I don't get it.
Yeah.
So,
I don't understand it.
So I hope you guys watched the video I sent last week.
I did.
I
watched
speaking of looks,
yes.
How do you feel about the Aptera?
Well, it's ugly. It's ugly as sin.
It's right up there with the Cybertruck, I gotta say.
Yeah.
No, I think it is hideously ugly. It is. This is. But you watch that video, and if they can do, 75% of what they're claiming they can do, I might still buy one.
I mean, if you want a 3-wheel vehicle, buy a Slingshot.
Yeah, but
I was trying to remember what the heck the name of those things were. Yeah, it's a Slingshot, isn't it?
Yeah.
But Ray, they're saying 1,000-mile range.
Okay.
Let's say that they don't get there, and it's a 750-mile range.
That's still quite the range.
That is still like, okay. And at what are they starting at? Like,
well, the thing weighs
40,
probably what, 800 pounds?
Well, not with the battery.
No, I know.
Right. It'll still be, but you're right.
Being dramatic.
Right. There's also no trunk, no, major trunk into it. There's very little space. But
and
I think if they
supposed to sell for, if they happen.
If they happen, they were at. I got to relook at this again.
I mean, it's
only 69,000 for that, Ray.
What?
I'm kidding.
No, it's nowhere near that. It's actually pretty cheap. And I don't remember.
I mean, it's an interesting vehicle in the fact that it uses solar to help power it.
Yeah.
It was, from those guys driving it, it was relatively quick.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And it was still on, not fully charged, didn't have everything.
Yeah.
33,000.
Yeah, well, so Aptera is saying final price tag would be $25,900 to $31,000.
Okay, well, I think I'd need more car than that for $25,900 to $31,000.
At 1,000 miles, I bet there's a lot of people that would go for that. I mean, the solar's silly because it's not. you're going to get 10 miles a day out of it. If you're
Yeah.
in California, Phil's going to get 0 miles a day. He'll get like a quarter of a mile if he parks outside all day. I'm not saying Phil has smog issues. I'm just saying that I have more sunshine.
Nope.
So I mean, I think it'll do really well with a certain crowd, and I think if they really can get that kind of range out of it, there's a lot more people who would be inclined to get it, because there's a lot of people who don't really care what the car looks like either.
Well,
Like, it's
well,
transportation. I got to get here to there. I don't really care about any creature comforts. I don't care what it looks like. I don't care what, and that's a really large segment of people, and that I've experienced in my life.
yeah.
And I think if you're at 700 plus mile range, I think those people might
The only
be the ones considering. If this flew, Phil, you would buy it.
fine, yes, I would. but like, Sam here mentioned in here something about getting hit in the rear end.
Yeah.
Like, man, if you got into an accident with this thing,
Well, I don't know how it's built. I know it looks cheap, but I don't know what that frame and structure is. I don't know. And the back end, there is ample crumple room. But I mean, I agree. It looks like I would be less about the back end than I would be about getting hit right here on the front wheelbase. It looks like it could snap off because it's not protected in any way. But I don't know. I will say this too, Ray, you watched the video.
Yeah.
When they say they're going to silence the motor, when they played the motor, because it's, the beta version of it, I went, can you not? I actually like the sound of that motor. It's very sci-fi futuristic-y. Like, just leave the sound of the motor. It would be better.
The fact that the coefficient of drag was so low,
yes,
is really amazing.
Which is why it looks that ugly. Because that's, it's all about aerodynamics and less of anything else.
But yeah, I don't know that I would.
Yeah,
which is right? Because it is that same shape for the same reason.
Yes.
Yeah.
The professional bike helmet. Yeah, it is what it looks like. Yeah.
But I don't know that I would get in one. I really don't.
I would. I want to go test drive one. Of course.
And
yes.
I know. Let me put it to you this way. I know that if I got in one to drive one, that would be the first time any one of them has ever been hit by an 18-wheeler. Okay, so I don't want to be that guy.
No.
Yeah, because I mean, what is that thing going to turn into when it gets hit by an 18-wheeler?
I don't see very many crumple zones in that. I'm just saying. They're just.
I mean, there are crumple zones. It's just there's not much else.
Yes,
I know.
No, I don't want to be that headline. Okay.
But talking of that price range, though, there is another $31,000 car that I think may actually.
I don't consider this a car, by the way. I'm gonna put that out there.
The Aptera. I mean, it's a car. Because
does it have four? Does it have four wheels?
No,
not all cars have four wheels. It's not a bicycle. You're going to call it a tricycle.
Most cars have four wheels. Just saying.
But you see that word that you used right before?
It's an autocycle.
Where you said
I'll go with what Michael said.
But it's most cars too. It's still a car. Anyway,
I don't see this car. I see it as a glorified bike. That's what I see it as.
Yes.
I mean, yeah, it's a tricycle. I know.
Yeah.
I know.
And maybe it'll go.
I'm not trying to defend the Aptera. I like the concepts that they put out. I like the efficiency and
I get it
and everything else about it.
Maybe it'll go 750 miles because you have to pedal the damn thing. So what's the other $31,000 car that's coming out?
So the other one that is actually already being made by a little company that some people may have heard of is BYD.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know what BYD stands for?
Build your dream. That's right. Build your dream. I did know that. But they are going to expand and make the Dolphin in Mexico.
Yes.
And here's the picture of the Dolphin. It's
Yes.
got a 250-mile range for $31,000. So it's directly competing with Tesla on that.
Yes.
You know, and I mean, it's a decent looking hatchback, small crossover.
Isn't BYD the world's largest manufacturer and seller of EVs at this point in time?
So there's so much propaganda around
Or is
that
that
word.
just in China?
No, so not even then. For them to get to that number, you have to include their plug-in hybrids.
Oh, okay.
It's not straight. So there's China's doing the thing that China does, and they're sort of manipulating those numbers. They're saying EVs, but not all BEV. You have to
Gotcha. Okay.
you have to take into account PHEV, but their BEV is like nipping at the heels of Tesla, and probably by the end of this year, that will actually be true.
Wow.
And their
Okay.
BEVs will overtake Tesla as the most sold. Like they're ramping up production. And don't forget, the Chinese government is heavy into BYD. So we talk about subsidies here.
Yes.
But we're nothing compared to what China puts into BYD. Not even close. So they're pumping this to get it out all over the world and get in there. And I think it's going to be a strong contender because of its price point. Everyone's talking about the $11,000 one that just isn't going to happen.
Yeah.
In the U.S. The Blade, I think it is, which also gets 106 miles. Which is nobody's going to buy that. That's not going to happen. But the Dolphin, I think, is a real contender with 251-mile range, $31,000. It doesn't have the horsepower of a Tesla. It doesn't have the torque of the Tesla, but it has, but not everyone needs that. A lot of people don't even care to want any of that.
Mm-hmm.
I know there's a lot of people who just I don't need that kind of torque, and that's fine. This is great for them. And I think this is the real competition. And my guess is that China started building their BYD factory in Mexico before Tesla bought that land. And that could very well be why Tesla is pushing so hard to get over there too, because they need the $25,000 EV.
So how big is the Dolphin?
Yeah, so they're saying, I see that from Susanna here. So it's 162 inches long, 70 inches wide, 62 inches tall. So it's a little crossover. It's a small crossover.
So that's like a subcompact?
I would call it that, yeah.
You think it's subcompact?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Compared to our normal vehicles, yeah, this is subcompact.
You wouldn't call that a small crossover? You really think it's subcompact?
I think it's in that subcompact range.
I have no spatial reasoning, folks, so I'm going to give it to them. If you ask me how big my living room is, I'd tell you 200 yards.
Wow.
Oh, God.
Okay. That's a hell of an apartment you got.
Yeah.
So when they enter the North American market with the Dolphin, are they going to remake one of my favorite movies of all times, The Day of the Dolphin? Fa loves Pa. Are they going to remake that movie?
Way to make a reference that only I understand, Ray.
I did that for you.
I don't think so. I do not think they're going to do it. Let's see.
That was a good movie, by the way.
Yes, it was.
Yeah.
For Susanna, I am looking up the BYD versus the Dolphin versus the smart car.
Oh, it's bigger than a smart car.
What did it say the length was again? 160 what?
160 inches long.
Yeah, 162
So-
inches long.
So
It is.
let's put this into perspective. Ray, your car is 168 inches long.
Oh,
So
really?
it's 8 inches shorter than your car.
Wow. And I don't feel like I'm driving a subcompact, but I think mine would be considered a subcompact.
I mean, you
Or
take
at least-
you take
yeah.
8 inches off, you're in that class.
Yeah. Wow.
In my opinion, anyway.
Yeah. Do you think of your wife's Clubman as like a small car?
I look at it as like a compact.
Yeah. I mean, especially when you're in it, because it's pretty roomy on the inside.
Yes, it is deceiving in that aspect.
Yeah.
I do agree.
So,
What's a subcompact car that we would typically classify?
why as
How long's
sorry,
the bolt?
I lost. Yeah, the Bolt is what I'm looking up right now.
Yeah.
Ah, yes, the Bolt. That is the EV or the EUV?
I was looking up EUV, but you can look up EV too. Yeah, let's.
So that one is 169 inches long.
Wow.
The
Okay.
EUV is 169.
Okay, and then what's just a straight bolt?
Straight bolt.
Igor says
Bolt,
it's
please.
163.
That probably is about right. Yep.
So the Bolt and the Dolphin are about the same size.
Yep, 163. He's right.
Yep. So there, yeah. So
So this is a subcompact car. It's a subcompact car.
Yeah.
Yeah.
At least Hertz would rate it that way.
Yes, they would.
Yeah.
At the new subcompact pricing of $50 a day, which used to be getting like a luxury car.
Yes.
Per day.
Yeah. Days of old. Days of old. my friend.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So if BYD builds those cars in Mexico,
well, they're going to build something because they bought the plant and they're working on it. So they're
okay,
gonna build
but
something.
how long does it take to build the plant? So if when they build cars in Mexico, because of NAFTA, it then becomes just easy to bring them into the United States and they can enter the U.S. market.
Yep. And
There you have
without all the restrictions, yeah.
Well, there you have it.
So yeah, it is almost the same size as the Bolt. It's a little bit wider, and by a little bit, I mean half an inch wider.
Yeah. So they're the same car, essentially. Yeah. Wow.
So maybe maybe we'll take over that spot of the number one selling EV.
Could.
But I know GM said they're going to bring back the Bolt, so we'll see.
In our lifetime?
We'll
I
see about
think it's
that.
like next year or something.
Okay.
Maybe they have decided that was a stupid idea to discontinue that one.
Well, it was.
Yeah.
But, they're General Motors. There's been a long line of stupid ideas.
I never heard a lot about the Chinese cars being more reliable. The EU is looking into BYD for some severe reliability issues with their EVs.
Wow.
Looking into, though, does not mean that there's something there.
Yeah, it just means they're looking into
Yeah,
it.
it just looks into it. So I like to preface that because California likes looking into Tesla a lot and seems to have a really hard time finding something to do. But they keep trying. Our DMV is trying to sue them.
Really?
Didn't know the DMV had power to sue a company, but they indeed are trying to do that.
Well, now
Anybody
you know.
can sue anybody for anything at any time, right?
But a government agency usually has to have some sort of standing to sue people. I have know of no other case where a DMV has sued an OEM.
Yeah, I don't particularly know of any cases.
But again, that is, I don't know. That does not mean it has never happened.
Okay.
So, but I think that My take on it is the more EV automakers out there, the better. The more competition, the better. I don't care if it's a Chinese EV, if it's pushing Tesla to improve and get better. And Tesla's one of the most American-made vehicles. Although I guess once we open up in Mexico, if they sell those in the U.S., that'll change. But
is that the Model 2? Is that where?
I mean, that's what we're all sort of calling it. Tesla hasn't called it anything.
Oh, okay.
When should Tesla's Mexico plant come online?
End of next year, Q4 of next year.
Okay, so 2025, the end of 2025.
I mean, but that's
Hopefully.
Elon time, so it could be 2180.
Yeah.
2080, did you say?
I said 2180.
Oh, 2180.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
We all know Elon lives in his own time world.
Yes.
But they are actually really good at getting their plants online. Like their construction is lightning fast, and they get stuff open just like an unbelievable amount of times. And then they produce their vehicles on a time scale that is super slow, or at least. I mean, but that was the one thing. If you guys watched the Rivian launch event, they launched these two vehicles and said will be available, end of 2026.
Really?
And they're opening the plant in Virginia to make that timeline happen so fast. I'm like, that seems like it's almost 2 years away. That doesn't seem like it's fast to me.
Well, maybe it's fast for manufacturing. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it is because we don't know. But usually, when the public has announced a vehicle, it's the next model year, and it's coming. It's not, hey, in 2 years we're going to make this vehicle.
I have to answer Igor's question. He wants to know what's for lunch today.
Yeah.
Today, Igor, it is tuna melt on a toasted bagel. There you have it.
Illinois, not Virginia.
Yes.
Very nice. Very nice, Ray.
Yes. Yes. So that's what I'm doing when the show ends, which better be soon, damn it, because the coffee I've been drinking all morning and afternoon isn't cutting it anymore.
Yeah, we're almost. I do want to answer David here. I'm going to disagree that Tesla ever did false advertising. Stupid people didn't pay attention to the letter you left off there. They've never called it FSD. It's FSDB, beta. And you have to agree so many times in that car to keep your hands on the wheel. So I disagree with the state of California, not a real big surprise. But I disagree with California that there was false advertising. I think it was stupid people who don't want to follow the rules and don't want to read the stuff. So that's just mine. I have a Model 3 and I've read through all that.
Can I answer this question?
Yeah.
No, I would not, because when my lease is up on my Mini, I am probably no longer going to own or lease any car at all, and I'm just going to rely on Uber and Lyft, because it'll be less expensive than actually owning a car and insuring a car. So, no.
Well, I got to say, Ray, Costco has a great deal on the Bugatti electric scooter. So you can just get one of those. Yeah. Can't you see
Cool.
Ray on
Thank
an
you for
electric
that.
scooter scooting around?
Yeah.
Great.
Oh, yeah, all day long.
It's too windy down here for a scooter.
Yeah. And then to Stuart's point, that's right. We are closing in on our 100th episode. But I will not be here next week. So we will not be doing a show next week. The week after will be 99. Week after that, ideally, we will be bringing on some special guests to celebrate our 100th episode.
Special guests, I can't wait. And will there be champagne on those shows? On that show?
Should be.
I usually drink whiskey right before the show, but we can do champagne. Whichever way you want to do it, that's fine. I have no problem.
Really, whiskey over bourbon, huh?
Well, it's actually usually I just was the first alcohol that popped in my mind. It's usually martini. So
Well, that too.
it's usually Grey Goose, as you well know, Phil,
Yes,
that I'm drinking. Few olives helps me get up. For
it
the
does.
show.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. No, it's some good stuff.
All right.
it's
Well,
lunchtime,
Ray,
kids.
yep, you got to go eat lunch. I got to drink before my next team meeting, and
Jeez.
and so we will see everyone in 2 weeks. And Ray, I will see you before that. I'm
I
sure.
would hope so. Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
Thank you for today. It was fun.
Yeah. Thank you for tuning in,
Thanks,
everyone.
guys.
Yeah. Thank you,
Everybody.
Phil.
Thank
Have
you.
a good day.
Yep.